Testing and verifying Android applications. Do I recommend a virtual machine or a actual Android phone? Now, what I recommend is for the speed and for, having the luxury of having it on your computer, I do recommend doing the virtual machine, the virtual Android device, only because you don't have to buy a whole bunch of phones. You can have Android O, Android N, Lollipop, KitKats, Froyo, all of them within the virtual machine without buying, 10 or 20 devices. That's the benefit of it. The con is that, well, there are other benefits. You can change the battery level. You can change, if it's overheating. You can change the performance of it. You can change if it has Wi-Fi or not. Change if it has 3G or 4. You can change so many things within a virtual machine. It's crazy. You can do a whole bunch of stuff with that. I agree that you should do that for testing, but I also believe that you should have a physical device. For Android developers, at least in your mid-career, you should have, if you're working remotely, you should have, the most recent Android phone and also the last gen. So right now it's Android O, and then you would have Android, not O, Android Oreo, and then you should have also Android Nougat or Lollipop or something, or Marshmallow. Have at least the current gen and then the last gen, just for testing purposes for a physical device. Why is this? Doesn't a virtual device fix all of that? Well, there are problems with virtual devices still. They're not perfect. I happen to go into a lot of problems with virtual devices. I have an app that I developed and I run it on a virtual device and it works 100% perfect. But as soon as I put it on a physical device, it looks different, for one. It just looks different. You notice that you put it on a physical device, like what the app looks different. The views are shifted a little bit more to the left and to the right. For some reason, I don't know. So you have to fix that. And looking on a physical device and actually touching it, touching it to see if the buttons have enough padding on them and stuff. It's something you can't do in a virtual machine. As what I know, you can do. I'm not sure if you know. Put that in the comments. But you can't do that on a virtual machine. And there's sometimes that I create apps and it works on a virtual machine 100%, but then it works on a physical device not 100%, maybe 90%. Maybe something crashes. Maybe there's a crash that wasn't there on a virtual device. It's very random. I'm not exactly sure how this works. How it works in a virtual machine and it doesn't work on a physical device. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But errors do come up on the physical device that you don't get on a virtual device, and that's very weird. Another thing is there's nothing more than actually holding the app and playing with the app just how a user would. Like I said, you touch the buttons and maybe the buttons are too small, there's not enough padding and you can't click them. Maybe you're on your phone and just the size of the phone, so the average phone is like this phone, and maybe on the virtual machine you go on that and it has a different feel for it. So keyboard's gonna be different. Everything is gonna be different with it. With actually having a regular phone, you start typing and it texts you, and you notice the actual keyboard blocks the text to you, so you can't see the results of the text to you. Those are things that you might not be able to see in a virtual device, or you may not be able to notice in a virtual device, but it's very apparent in a mobile phone. You see it through the user's eyes, how they're going to see it, and that's very big. That's very important. I don't believe that you should be doing a physical device on every single time you compile, because that's a lot more time. First compile and test on a virtual machine, and then when everything works out great, then do it on a physical. They have a physical one for the design, the touch feedback, how it looks, how it operates, what kind of errors to have. Every app's going to have errors. You may have more or less with a physical device. And yeah.